Over 20 years ago, at the end of July, me and my wife became parents for the first time. We had a beautiful little baby boy. I was all of 22 years old, married for less than a year, and miraculously, we were parents. And I'll never forget, after the delivery, which was done by a private doctor who was head of the department because we were spoiled Americans who had American insurance so we could pay privately, the doctor came back into the room and he picked up the baby in the palm of his hand like this, and he looked at the baby and he said, "Wow, how fortunate you are. What a beautiful, wonderful baby." And he said it with genuine amazement and almost like he was overwhelmed. And I remember looking at him, the little cheeky young guy that I was, and saying, "Doctor, can I ask you a question? How many babies have you delivered in your life?" And he said to me, well over 10,000. I said, "You mean to tell me that every time you deliver a baby, you pick it up, you look at it with wonderment and with amazement, and just like, wow, what a miracle? Is that even possible? How do you maintain your inspiration?" And he looked at me with a sad face and he said to me, "Shlomo," he said, "I'm also a surgeon and I have an almost perfect record in terms of the surgeries that I do. I only messed up once in my life, and that was on my own wife. Unfortunately," he said, "we don't have any of our own children. So yes, maybe this was the 12,000th baby that I delivered, but I still looked at you, young parents in their early 20s, just starting life, with a beautiful, precious little baby of their own. And yes, I realized how grateful you have to be." And that story and that lesson has stayed with me, even though many years have passed and a bunch of other children came along. And that little tiny kid that you could hold in the palm of your hand at that point, well, he's taller than his dad. But still, that incident left an indelible impression upon me, and I haven't forgotten it yet. And actually, what this doctor was trying to teach me is actually straight out of this week's Torah portion of Bo. There's a mitzvah in this week's Torah portion that's called Pidyon Haben, and it still applies nowadays. The firstborn baby boy in a family, naturally born baby boy, there's a special ceremony that we do on the 30th day where we bring a Kohen, a Jewish priest, into the home, we make a party, and we give him a cash gift. It's called Pidyon, which means a redemption for the child. Not that the child belongs to him or anything, but it's a way of us showing, look, we realize the incredible value of this, and we'd like to express our gratitude to God. We're not going to take this moment for granted. Let's give it to what God's representative, the Kohen, those that serve God. And this has been part of the Jewish people since we left Egypt. This is one of the first mitzvahs, one of the first commandments that the Jewish people got as a nation. The commandment, the obligation to do the ceremony. Once a boy hits 30 days, a firstborn baby boy hits 30 days, at that point we make the ceremony. And we express our gratitude to God. This baby has successfully survived the first 30 critical days of its life, and God willing, it'll be a healthy child. We're not going to take this for granted. We can't just expect that everything is going to go normal, and when it does go normal, we can't just write it off. We have to take the moment and we have to express our gratitude. And that's what the doctor was teaching me. You're young. You don't even realize the gift that you have. Don't take this for granted. Have gratitude. Express your appreciation to God for this incredible gift that He entrusted in you, the gift of another human life. And we find two other examples of this in the Torah. When the Jewish people lived in Israel, imagine that you were a pomegranate farmer and your first lush, ripe pomegranate blossoms. You worked so hard. What do you want to do with that pomegranate? Well, naturally, you take it into the farmhouse, you cut it up into a bunch of little different pieces, and everyone gets a sliver, a few pits, and it tastes so good because you put such hard work into it. But the Torah teaches us no. You take that first fruit, the first few fruit, you bring it up to Jerusalem, to the Beis HaMikdash, to the temple, you give it to the Kohen, and you say, God, I understand that I cannot take this for granted. I am grateful for you for making the fruit grow. And my first crop, I dedicate specifically to you, so I don't take it for granted. That's called bikurim, like the word bechor in Hebrew, which means firstborn. And finally, the Jewish people are entering the land of Israel. After 40 years in the desert, after the exodus and slavery from Egypt, they conquer their first city, and God says to them, through the prophet Joshua, don't take any of the spoils of the city. It all goes to the Beit HaMikdash. It all goes to the Holy Temple. Don't expect that you're going to win every single time and that you're going to have as many spoils as you need. Don't take things for granted. Take the first thing that you have, dedicate it to God, show your appreciation, show how grateful you are. And this is such an important lesson, not to expect things to go perfectly. This way you're not disappointed when they don't. But when they do go perfectly, don't take it for granted. Show your gratitude. You'll feel better about yourself and you'll live your life more in the moment. And I conclude by taking this opportunity to thank that doctor that delivered my first son and taught me a message which still rings true in my mind over 20 years later. Shabbat Shalom until next Thursday night.